Hello, friends. Welcome to Dr. Helen, founder and chief engagement officer. Yes, CEO of Dr. Helen Holton and Associates, and your host for Dr. Helen Speaks: Strengths, Resilience, and Leadership. Thank you for joining us today. We do not take it lightly. There are other places you could be doing something different than what you're doing right now. And we are just excited and glad that you're here with us. I enjoy our time together as we continue along this path of lifelong learning. That's really what we're here to do, get you excited and motivated about continuing to learn, grow, develop, expand, to be a better leader. Absolutely. The number one goal we hold for this show, and that would be me and my team, because this show would not be possible without the phenomenal team I have. And our goal is to add value to you, your life as a leader, and your leadership whenever you tune in. We've always got something good to share. We value your presence and hold a firm commitment, not one that wavers, a firm commitment to invest time and energy into our own research, development, and learning to bring you relevant information, to increase your knowledge base, and to take your leadership to the next level. One of the most significant lessons I've learned is this: the most effective leaders are lifelong learners. And by the way, who you learn from matters. It really does. And the more you invest in you, let's be clear, you are the number one product that you present to the world. And so the more you invest in you by learning and expanding who you are as a leader, strengthens your leadership along with the people you lead. Because if no one's following you, you're not really a leader. Yeah, that's another story for another day. The added benefit, though, is your ability to influence the people who directly follow you, your guidance, your leadership, and the ones that indirectly follow you. Those are the ones that live on the periphery of life, that you don't necessarily know that they're watching what you do. And today, oh my goodness, what's the saying? You never know who's watching, and there's always someone watching. This is one of those things that when you just keep doing that investment in you and your team and organization, there are others that are going to reap the benefit of it, that they may never tell you that they did, but you keep doing it. I guarantee you there are others who are watching you. How do I know this? Because I've been doing this work for years and have been instrumental in transformational work with more than 500 leaders, teams, and organizations, locally and globally. Continuing professional development and leadership development, being a lifelong learner, that's really what that means, are the fuel. It's the fuel. It's that fire under you that propels your leadership forward. How you show up equipped and empowered to lead is essential to your success and theirs, those that you lead. No one can do what you do better than you. And I'm just here to encourage you to keep investing in you, to be the absolute best leader you can be. And that's the why for Dr. Helen Speaks, why we show up here, to help you do you better, because nobody beats you at what you know best. Do you have the opportunity to do what you do best every day? And I love that question. I took it from Gallup. Yes, I did, because it's a great question. And when you have that opportunity to design on purpose with intention what you want for your life. Now, this is more than a simple yes, no question. It's a question full of potential and possibilities. Yes, to keep you thinking, growing, and moving forward toward your best life ever. That's really what I want for you. I've reached that place in life. And can I tell you, for all that I thought it would be, it's more. And that doesn't mean that it's without the hiccups, the missteps, the glitches, the delays, but all of that just makes it so much richer. It really, really does. And so when you show up like that, oh my goodness, it is just incredibly phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Doing what brings you fulfillment, joy, and meaning in life is what gives you more life. There's a documentary I was watching on Netflix. A dear friend of mine, colleague, told me about it. And it was just one of those things that says, yes, I can do more. I can do better. I can tweak. I can shift. I can do whatever. But it's called, oh my goodness, it's called, I believe it's called Live to 100. If you have time, it's on Netflix. It's free. Go get, well, if you have Netflix. However, that meaning in life is what gives you more life. Being in sync or aligned with that, with what that is, of you doing you and what you do best. And if you don't believe me, check it out, read it. Science. And I'm talking about all the sciences, the psychological, social, it's a whole bunch of sciences out there. Continue to measure, record, and report out on the value of positive, repetitive practices that make a difference and add value to you, your life, and your leadership. I mean, this is the stuff that stimulates your mind and stays forefront in your focus to live well while doing good. Sound like a novelty or a phenomenon of some sort, but it really is true. It really is true. You can do good and do well at the same time. So how do you focus on what you do best every day? I'll give you a hint. By being intentional, being present to the knowledge and wisdom that's all around you, that's been tested and tried and proven. I will share this with you because it hit me the other day. A quote from one of my favorite books that I spend time in at least once a day or more is this: what has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. Nothing. And it comes out of the chapter in my book titled Ecclesiastes. And it's in the first section of this chapter, around verse 9. The greatest leaders known to humanity, who have done marvelous things to enhance and improve life, often begin their discovery with and through something that's already here in some form or fashion. It's a new take on an old thing, which amounts to change, because change is the one thing that continues to take place to reflect the current time we're in, to show us how we don't do things the way we used to. However, some of that's already been embedded, because it's not, even if you pull together something that hasn't been done before, you're taking it from all those other things that are. So in essence, we build upon what's here. We deconstruct to reconstruct. But is the outcome really new? It may be a different take or a different spin. Is it an adaptation from something from another time and space? More often than not, yeah, it is. Have I piqued your interest enough today? Are you a little bit curious about how you can connect the wisdom of yesterday to today and really get value from it? Our focus today is really an inquiry into how do you leverage leadership language. There is a language to leadership, and much of it you can pull from ageless wisdom. What can you do as a leader to lean into the learning of ageless lessons and make them fresh in a new reality? And if you don't think we're living a new reality, look again. It's new because we've never lived it before, and that's part of the function of time. However, you can look at it and say, and really understand when I say there's nothing new under the sun. It may be new because it's different players, different people in power, all of that. But if you look back over time, it's an iteration or version of something different or something familiar to an extent. So before we jump in, or I should say, leap into where we're going, make sure you've got something handy to capture your thoughts, questions, ideas, aha moments. A notebook, a journal, tablet, smartphone. You know what? The back of an envelope works just as well. Capture them so you can easily refer back to them. And ask questions. Have reflections, introspective reflections, sharing, expand your thinking, and continue to build your life, leadership, and legacy. I'm here to tell you, this is what creates legacies. Those repetitive, positive practices and how you look at ageless wisdom that impacts and influences what your legacy will be. So today, we're talking about leveraging leadership language. And I came across this quote. I don't know whose quote it is, but it certainly makes a whole lot of sense. The language of leadership is not just the spoken word, but it's also the wisdom to listen, the courage to speak, and the patience to understand. And I think that's a real important part of this quote. And when I stumbled upon it, I was like, oh yeah, this is so right in tune with what we're talking about today. Now, I don't know who said it or how long ago it was said. What I do know is it speaks volumes to you and me as leaders. Ageless words of wisdom become ageless because the truths they hold and the value they offer are priceless. So priceless that they're free. You don't have to reach in your pocket or dig deep to get a hold of them. It's free. They're out there. Have a conversation with someone who's been around for a long time. I have a neighbor in a couple of weeks that will celebrate his 102nd birthday. To sit and have a conversation with him, it's just incredible. The knowledge, the wisdom, the shared experiences of his heyday to looking at what's going on today, and to find the connections that you can weave together. So if you seek out wisdom, you'll find it, and it can change your life. It reminds me of the legend of the Sankofa bird. And I say legend, I don't imagine that it was ever really a bird, and the story of it, I'm sure, has evolved over time, but it's really ageless wisdom because it tells us that, and it's a picture of a bird, feet solidly planted, facing forward. But the bird is looking backwards, behind itself. Tells us that we must look behind us. where we've come from to move forward, because there are lessons back there that can help us move forward better. Think about this. If you've ever taken yoga, whether it's chair yoga, floor yoga, Iyengar yoga, hot yoga, there's all kinds of yogas. All that stretching in different and unusual ways are done to strengthen you physically and mentally, to make your body more agile and your mind to understand what it means to shift in a moment's notice. And this is true for us here right now, as well as when we think about leveraging the language of leadership. Now, the more you study, search, and seek out new ways to confront today's daunting challenges, we're increasing the value of ageless wisdom. Take a look at some of the ways you can leverage your leadership by leaning in and leveraging your actions through processes and practices of leading that just aren't that new. Maybe they've left the forefront of your thinking and processing. Here's an opportunity to reach back to what you know, and if you don't, some ways to look at what we're talking about from a fresh perspective. Now, number one, the first thing I'm going to talk about is one that from time to time, yes, I do struggle with, and that's prioritizing time management. When you make it a focus, it is a lot easier to say, let me make sure I understand time's process in this, because we're talking about time management and how it can be influenced by various factors that as a leader, it allows you to have this sense that time is moving faster, time is moving slower, or you're just stuck and time's not moving. Well, number one, time is always moving. So you might be stuck, but time isn't. Or when you're anxious about something and time just seems to be dragging on forever and ever. Now, time's a construct that humanity created. And in its creation, sometimes it gets the better of us, and sometimes it takes us on a path we really don't need to be going in. Either way, it makes a difference. And so when you think about these factors that challenge you and are crucial tasks, and you want to avoid wasting time on less important activities, you've really got to sit and prioritize what that looks like. And in doing that, it has you think about or emphasize your long-term vision. That strategy that will propel you forward in a sustainable way begins with a plan today. Prioritize your priorities. When you focus on decisions that have a lasting impact, it helps you to avoid being overly influenced by short-term fluctuations. I used to be a financial advisor, and I can remember when the market crashes or takes a deep dive, too many people, oh my God, I got to get out of that. Well, here's the rub with that. If you get out when it's down, you've got no way to recoup it. And if you look at the history of the stock market since it was created, it has consistently continued to go higher and higher and higher. Now, it has dips, just like life does. If you were always on an upward trajectory, how would you really be able to assess the effectiveness of it if you've never had a dip, never had a misstep, a failure, something to go wrong? Just consider the daily new crisis that pops up and attempts to have you shift your plans in motion. Don't be so quick to jump. Pause and determine if it's in line with the long-term vision of where you're headed. Which comes to point number 3. You've got to be willing to adapt to change. If you keep doing what you've always done, you'll keep getting what you've always gotten, and that will frustrate you. When I work with clients that are feeling stuck and they can't move forward, 9 times out of 10, they're in their own way. Because for every good idea, they've got 2 that say, oh, no, ditch that. Don't do that. Stay where you are. Stay the course. No need to change. Oh, that's probably the time you really need to consider a change, because it's not just adapting to external factors. You've got to deal with the internal changes that you as the leader need to make. And if you make them for yourself, you need to be able to communicate them with your team or within your organization. I mean, adaptability is essential for staying relevant and effective over time. Now, it doesn't mean you change your mind every day, but it does mean you want to periodically assess where you are. Leveraging the language of leadership. I want you to spend some time just jotting down some of those short, memorable phrases of ageless, timeless wisdom that still is relevant today as it was when you first heard it, and way before you ever heard it. You also, number 4, you want to be mindful of perceptions. Understand how your perception affects your experience of time. This is really valuable to help you as a leader to be more empathetic and considerate of your team members' experience. They will, in all likelihood, have different experiences than you, because as the leader, you're having experiences that may never trickle down to where they are. However, based upon how you respond to those changes can certainly have a direct impact upon how they confront them. And factoring that into your ability to be mindful of the situation around and the environment you're in can improve engagement, the relationships, and the dynamics of your team and how they operate, especially under pressure and in the overload, which too many people seem to be experiencing these days. But number 5 rolls right into this. And this is, and so when you think about how you're being mindful, how are you managing stress and the pressures? Let's be clear. You often face higher levels of stress and pressure than your team that you lead. And knowing that the truth of stress can distort your perception of time or the steps it takes to manage your stress. And this is tied to your well-being. There we go again. First time I said it, to your well-being, which keeps you pretty balanced when you make time to hit all those points of well-being. We'll go back and revisit that as we're coming close to that time of year of planning and budgeting and all those things that can budget cuts and shortfalls and all of that. And managing stress and the pressures that you confront is also tied to how well and how effectively you're communicating and making well-informed decisions, not decisions on the whim. Now, sometimes you do need to make a quick decision, but don't be so quick to make the decision without thinking through some of these things. Because as a leader, as I said before, heavy is the head that wears the crown. You've got responsibilities on you that, whether you want to deal with them or not, if you're a leader, you must deal with them for the viability and success of the team and organization that you lead. Number 6, be aware of cultural sensitivity. The cultural and philosophical diversity of our world today requires leaders to be more culturally sensitive in your interactions and decision making. It is so easy to not consider the impact of what may be going on in the organization with what's happening in the local, global communities that we live in. Think about high holy days for people in different religious or spiritual beliefs, that if you're going to have a all hands on deck meeting, you want to just check the calendar to see, is this going to interfere or add stress to a critical team member that I really want to be present at the meeting? You see, when you're mindful and able to foster that sense of belonging, inclusivity, and understanding among the team members from different backgrounds, it gives you an advantage. It also is a great way to manage not only your stress and pressures of getting things done, but those of your team that want to be present, especially if you're calling for all hands on deck. Sometimes you have to swim upstream to succeed against the tide. And number 7, you want to teach patience and resilience. And the best way you can teach it is by having it in place for yourself. You can impart the wisdom of patience and resilience just by acknowledging that time can be both slow and fast, and that setbacks are a natural part of progress. And this can help your team members persevere through a crisis or challenge in the workplace that you have to confront. And patience and resilience work beyond just the workplace. They add a lot to your personal life as well. Number 8, you want to promote a work-life balance. What does that mean? You want to help people assess and address their own well-being, which is beyond just being healthy. It's fully healthy in all elements of your well-being, because this is how you encourage your team to manage their time more effectively and prevent burnout and maintain a healthy state overall of well-being. So you see, it's a lot. However, if you do a little bit every day and practice it and put it in place in your organization, it's not as much as you think. And it becomes a habit, a practice for your good. So when you commit time for your regular reflection on these ageless truths of wisdom that speak the language of leadership, you're in a great space to make things happen, to be in better alignment with your vision for your team and organization. This is the path to achieve what you've set out to accomplish in your life and your leadership. Give yourself permission. Know that it's okay when you do that. And that's what Dr. Helen Speaks shows up for, to help you be more intentional as a leader. We want to motivate and inspire you to engage deeper with the vision you hold for you, your team, and your dreams. Not only for today, but tomorrow. That's called your legacy. And guess what? Your future begins right now. Right now. Everything you want is already within you, just waiting to be brought to the world in ways that only you can do. That's the way that leads to transformative work. And we engage in this life-changing work every day at Dr. Helen Holton and Associates, producing results, working with leaders like you and teams. Because the leader says, I got it. Come on, let's get the team on board. Time won't change. You as a leader developing a more conscious relationship with time will. Timeless wisdom isn't a fluke, as time reveals to us every day. The language of leadership is a concise, relatable way to convey valuable life lessons and insights that will continue to be relevant because they address fundamental aspects of human existence. Yeah. Our work drives leaders, visions, and teams forward. And that's what we focus on. We know that everything rises and falls on the shoulders of leaders just like you. Leaders drive visions, and your ability to lead effectively with intention is a choice, a conscious choice. So join us here at Dr. Helen Speaks, Strengths, Resilience, and Leadership. We are here every Tuesday, 10 a.m. Pacific time and 1 p.m. Eastern time. And you can find us, you can catch us live, or you can find us on my YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and put in at Dr. Dr. Helen Holton, and you'll find our episodes going back to the beginning of when we began this almost 2 years ago. Invest in you. You're worth it. And we look forward to seeing you again soon.